Let's talk about branding because I think branding, obviously, a hot topic, and not here to offend anybody who might love or think branding is the most important thing in the world. But the reality of things are that I've got to show you what branding is. So, branding, yes. Overcomplicated, no. We're going to talk about this, right? All right. So here's an example of the email you saw that writing. So branding complicated, branding, yes. Overcomplicated, no, no. Here's why branding is tough. Number one and foremost, you need more hands. What I mean by that is the more branded you are, the more hands you need, the more designers you need, the more people you need, the more things you need ultimately. It also is following a lot more of a large company trend. Somewhere along the way, we like to look up at large companies. Obviously, I look at large companies. You look at them, everybody looks at them. But the reality of it is that large company trends are not good trends for your small business or even your medium-sized business often. Large company trends are done because they have to spread huge nets into the world. They're sending millions and millions of emails a day or billions even, and they realize that in order to please the general mass market, I've got to send a large company trend email. And they're great. They're great. There's nothing wrong with them, but they don't turn the ROI that you need. And especially when you're hyper focused on your retention, like you are most likely, you're probably not going to be able to follow that. It's not repeatable. Again, if it requires so many people, things aren't repeatable. You should have your retention playbook place where anybody, regardless of their design skills, should be able to copy your brand and your templating and being able to use it. It's also extremely expensive. Let's I'll be honest. The more contractors you need, the more people, the more hands you need, it becomes time. Obviously, a lot of the branding side of things becomes very image centric, which we all know for deliverability reasons. It's not the best thing that you could be doing for your business, but they are very pretty. That's 100% a fact. They're very pretty, they're elegant, and they look great. But then they start having issues like lacking a CTR. We're going to see that example in just a second. They can be confusing. They ask for everything. There's no consistency, right? Consistency to me is such the most important thing that people seem to forget. Consistency is not just timing. Consistency is not just, asking for the same thing. Consistency to me is making it look and feel the same every time they open it. So immediately, without seeing your logo, they know it's your brand. And unfortunately, when you do a lot of branding, sometimes that branding will overcomplicate and lose that consistency within the brand. And ultimately, it lacks results. With branding, yes, I know that this is the hurtful thing to hear as maybe a designer if you're listening to this, but the lack of results happens often because the branding is just overcomplicated often. So let's take a look at it. And I broke down this first email here because I think this is a great email to look at. It was one of the examples I showed you, but I took a picture and I screenshot it into 4 chunks. Imagine it's one long thing, right? Let's take a look at this and break it down real quick. All the way up, nothing can stop us. Shop Apple Wands, shop belt bags. What did we miss out right away? Got 2 CTRs right off the top. Above the fold, 2 CTRs. What am I supposed to click on as a user? Now, I scroll down, and now I'm seeing about an Apple Watch, right? Okay, it's great. Now, I want to either watch a TikTok or give me some bands. 2 different CTRs again. Now, by now, I've seen 1, 2, 3, 4 CTRs, and I've scrolled once down the slide, right? Then I keep going out, but that's not all. The watch band is an epitome of fashion meets function. Then they pop personality, shop watch bands. Okay, so now we're pitching it again. And then you go all the way down to the bottom, and you've got more features. Then you got shop now, customer support, refer and earn, social media, social media, social media. So I looked at this email and I said, well, the first thing I'm going to do to dissect this email is going to go and look at where the clicks are actually occurring. Where are people clicking on such a long, unfocused email? Well, we're going to look at it, and I looked at it, and believe it or not, I bet you no one here would even realize it, but let me tell you the 3 places that got the most clicks. Number 1, they got the customer support button got a bunch of clicks, right? The Instagram got a bunch of clicks. And then on this one, I don't remember, but on a lot of them, the UGC got a lot of clicks. So what I realized real quickly was that the users did not know how to use the bands or weren't sure how to use the bands. And we had to educate them how easy it was in order to make that happen. That was the first learning I learned from that. Secondly, I learned that their clicks were all over the place because I was tracking every click with a tag, something you do in Sendlane. You tag everything. I was able to see CTA 1, CTA 2, CTA 3, CTA 4, and I maxed some of those up. And I was able to quickly see where users are spending their time on this email. And unfortunately, it was just all over the place. And being all over the place, you'll never be able to drive retention revenue when they're clicking on everything. You need them focused and clicking on the things that you want them to buy, the actions that you want them to do, right? So then I immediately went and said, well, we need to we need to create a great template, and we need to create and formulate it using the 3 E's, which we all know are very simple. Excitement, which is what makes them continue to read. Education, obviously giving the logic and understanding, and edification, which is to ask for the click, right? Those are the 3 E's that I talk about all the time. I'm not here to talk about them over and over, but like that's what I always focus on. So what I did first is we started to create their next setup. Now, I needed to create a repeatable playbook, something that anyone can pick up, anyone can take the design, and anyone can actually take this design and repeat it within their business. So I'm going to show you the crazy Figma file because you're going to see it. But I want to talk you guys through this Figma file because this Figma file is very simple if you actually look at what we did here. So what we did was we took their obviously branding, colors, and images that they had. Then we switched out. Here's their heroes. Here's all their different heroes they can use. But the thing about all their heroes, they're all the same. All you have to do is apply a different background image or the text image or the button images. But if you look at them, they're all the same. Then we took all their headers. What does headers look like? Well, there should only be a certain amount. So we created those blocks, right? Then we said, well, what about products? And we created product blocks behind them, social banners, reviews, and even content that we plug in there. And the idea behind this is very simple. Blocks. Not thinking about entire emails, think about blocks and formatting. When you're building a landing page, you don't build an entire landing page. You build the blocks of each section and you put them together. It's the same theory that we put together with the playbook when I'm calling. Now, I worked with my designer and my team. Obviously, this does cost a little money and time, but what we did was we spent time understanding the brand, putting it together and creating a repeatable playbook that not us, but anybody, including someone who had no idea how to do design, can take, update these emails and make them good, on brand, have all the 3 E's being played into it, where you can create the excitement level, you can educate some more, and you can edify them and ensure that that can get you over to them. And so that ultimately created this old template, right? So remember, we looked at these old templates, these were them, and notice something right away. Obviously, besides the Braxley band on the top, nothing is repeatable behind any of these. They're just images that some great designers building. And we went and started to change it to something like this. Now, I could argue both ways, and we look at different people and say, these are better, these are worse, these are, whatever it might be. But the reality of it is very simple. If you look at all of these, they're all simple to update. If I want to update this middle one, for example, I change the background, change the words, change the colors. Suddenly I've got a new email, but I'm staying on brand. Same thing here on the next VIP early release there, right? If I'm just changing some of the top words there, I can put it in, I can flip it around and change the background image, but I'm keeping the structure the same. In fact, you can see that happening right there on the next one there as well. So like we took the idea of systemizing and keeping everything very, very focused, yet keeping the blocks easy to flip and flop and add in different places so that a user, anybody, not us, not just Braxley, but anyone who came and picked this thing up, could actually take it and add it. In fact, you can see even on the headers, like the unique headers that we use there as well too. So that was the first thing, was all around just understanding the branding and getting their playbook into a place where they can repeat this branding over and over again, not recreating every time over and over again. It's about just updating and allowing it to fly fast. Because look, I know that next email sounds like the most important email that you might be sending for your brand, but the reality is only a certain amount of people are going to see it, only a certain amount of people are going to click on it, and most likely they probably won't always take action behind it. So we do that, and that's first number one. All right.